Welcome back, everyone. And Ben, welcome back. We have a lot of great things to talk about today, don't we?
Yeah, obviously super pumped about the results from last night. So Montreal moving on in 7 games against the Buffalo Sabres. The last time we chatted, we were going into, I believe it was game 5 the last time we talked, or game 6. So
Oh, I think we did a game 6 preview.
the game 6 previous, so we're hoping that the Habs would close it out at home. Game 6, Saturday night, didn't go their way. Actually, a bit of a stinker. So a bit of a weird game for sure, because in game 5, Dobish gives up 3 goals early on in the game. Marty St. Louis, who's really pushed all the right buttons the entire season, the entire playoff, left Dobish in the net. And the Canadiens come back and win that game. Game 6, Dobish gives up 3 pretty quickly. Then he gives up 4. Then he gives up 5. Now we start looking at Jacob Fowler. So Jacob Fowler gets a little bit of time in the net. We basically pull him with like 6 minutes left in the game, so he didn't play a whole lot. And in a way, it's like, okay, does Dobish need a break? This guy's never played 13, 14 games in a row in his NHL career. When you hear him talk, this guy is like on point. He is very straightforward, and I appreciate that about him. So obviously, going into game 7, the ultimate equalizer. You don't know who's going to come out of that. Two very good teams, pretty evenly matched. I mean, what was your gut telling you going into that game, Ange?
I mean, going into that game, to be honest, I thought we would have already won it, especially at home. But I did say that the Canadians played really well on the road. They had a few good games there in Buffalo. They came out strong. They came out strong. I mean, right away, they were pushing for that win.
So, I mean, they've won, I believe it's 4 road games in each series so far. So they've won 8 games. Sorry, they've won 2 road games in each series at least. So it's 4 wins on the road.
Yeah.
They're 6-0 now when they've lost a game in the playoffs. So they've never lost 2 in a row in the playoffs, which is an amazing stat to have. Slightly unfortunate that these series keep going so long, because the upcoming opponent for the Montreal Canadiens, the Carolina Hurricanes, they've won 2 series in a row with sweeps. So they've been chilling for like 2 weeks
But
now.
that could be a bad thing. That could be a bad
Absolutely.
thing.
It could be a bad thing because they're kind of on ice. They don't have the game reps in. They're not, battling every single day the way the Montreal Canadiens have. They don't have their motor going. But certainly, if they have bumps and bruises, and at this time of year every team does, they add a little bit of extra time off to recuperate, get healed up. Freddie Anderson has never played a full season straight as a true number one, or at least it's been a few years. So he's going to get to rest up. Season series against Carolina Hurricanes, I believe Montreal was 3-0. So maybe we'll talk a little bit more about the Hurricanes in a second. We'll just continue to talk about game 7 here. So Habs jumped out to a very quick 2-goal lead.
Yeah.
We had a goal off the skate of Phil Deneau. We had a very nice power play goal from Zach Bolduc, which was excellent. And then all of a sudden, you can't keep a good team down like the Buffalo Sabres for too long. And, they start to build some momentum. They get a quick goal back. I think it was I want to say Samuelson got the goal from the point with the fourth line, where they really pin them in the zone, continue to work through the game, tie the game up, and all of a sudden we're in overtime. And surprise, surprise, back-to-back game 7 heroes here with Alex Newhook. So getting that beauty of a goal in overtime, that's kind of how overtime goes. It was just a very tight game. That's what I was expecting going into it. I wasn't expecting a 5-goal game. That 3-2 outcome, that if someone would have asked me for a prediction, which I would have never made, I would have said something along those lines.
Interesting. Now, would you have thought, actually, I did originally ask you if it would go to game 7, and you were like, I know you don't make predictions, and you're like, oh God, no, like this won't go to game 7. And you never know. You never know. It ended up going to game 7 and overtime game 7.
It just shows how tightly matched the teams are this time of year.
Yeah.
And the Montreal Canadiens played in, arguably the best division in the NHL. When you see how many teams made the playoffs from the division, so 5 teams made the division, how competitive the playoffs were for all these teams. Really, just a difficult series. That's why you play the regular season, right? Is to put yourself in a position where, oh, maybe you could have played the Boston Bruins or the Philadelphia Flyers in the first round instead of playing the Tampa Bay Lightning. But it is what it is. Eventually, all roads would go through Florida, like I keep saying. So we crossed that bridge. We got over it, beat down the Buffalo Sabres, get over that. Now we'll go play Carolina. Again, they've been chilling. I think the Habs have had like a 3-0 record against Carolina in the regular season this year. So that bodes really well for the Montreal Canadiens in terms of confidence, in terms of a matchup. Carolina's been a good team for a number of years now. So they're well constructed. They're deep. They're not, a top heavy or bottom heavy team by any means. maybe not, maybe not the same level of game breaker the way Rasmus Dahlin, Tage Thompson, Nikita Kucherov type players are on that team.
Yeah.
A little bit more of, doing it by committee. Have an elite two-way centerman in Sebastian Aho, pick up Nikolai Ehlers from last year's free agency, and their second line, which is a combination of Taylor Hall, Logan Stankoven, and Jackson Blake, has been phenomenal in these playoffs, like absolutely outstanding, more than a point a game for each of those guys in this playoffs. It's going to definitely, they won their division. They're a good team. They've been relatively undefeated, or they've been undefeated in these playoffs. So going to be a tough matchup for the Montreal Canadiens for sure. There's no easy matchups at this point in the playoffs.
Yeah.
I've got a lot of confidence in the boys. How are you feeling about the Habs against the Hurricanes?
I was just gonna say, I am so proud of these guys, so proud of this team. I mean, at the end of the day, they're going to the Eastern Conference Finals. Like, no matter what happens next, they were the last Canadian team standing. What I love most, though, and I think I've said it before on previous segments, like what I love most about these guys is just how well they like handle the pressure. Like they seem so calm and like they still seem just so like they want this so bad, and you can just see that. I mean, the momentum I would say was totally entirely in Buffalo's favor. I mean, Buffalo being at home, game 7, they crushed us the last game, right? So,
I love the us. Keep saying us.
I am. I'm an us now. I don't know if I'm a bandwagon jumper. I might not go back to the Leafs. I don't know. I don't know. And I'm trying to get everyone to hop on with me. I said to Joey, it's so funny this morning. I said to Joey, I was like, wow, they did it. Like, I'm so excited. I'm like, I picked the right team. I picked the right bandwagon to jump on. But I don't know. I think I'm a fan now. So if you bring me a hat, maybe I'll even rock it.
I'm going to give you something better than a hat. It's in the mail. Don't worry about it. But
Love
I'll
it.
say, like, if the Habs didn't win this game, for sure, I'd be cheering for the Buffalo Sabres going
Yeah.
into the next round and all the way, because to me, Buffalo is like the town of underdogs, a consummate underdog. So happy to see them finally return to the playoffs after, I think, a 12 or 13-year absence from there. Great season for them. Hopefully, they'll be able to carry it forward.
Yeah.
Interesting choice last night. What do you think of them going with Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen in goal instead of Alex Lyon, who really was the better goalie for them for the majority of the playoffs? Any controversy there? Or to me, like, Pekka Luukkonen is kind of the number one guy there, so I'm not surprised to see him get the start.
Yeah.
But all four goalies played in Game 6, so nobody played particularly well in net.
Yeah.
He certainly didn't lose the game for them. He was very good, I thought. But
Yeah.
any controversy there? Would you have gone with the same guy?
I don't know. I mean, we've talked about it before, and I think you even asked me who was going to be in net, and I think I did say that that was going to happen. So I don't know if I predicted it, but I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I honestly, it's hard to say. I think it'll be interesting to see going forward, what happens and how this plays out. But I think too, like you said, it's funny because our, fullback team is kind of always Buffalo, just because
Proximity.
they're the only NFL team that we kind of closely have, right? So I agree with you. If Montreal was out, call me what you want to call me, a bandwagon jumper, but then I would have definitely been cheering for the Sabres for sure. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I'm so proud of these guys, and I think they go out, they play like they want to win it. Again, like being in Buffalo, kind of the cards were like not really in their favor. It would have been so easy for them. They're a bunch of young guys, so it would have been easy for them to go out there and kind of play maybe a little bit more scared. But they didn't. They play so well. I am so proud of them.
So I think an unspoken advantage that the Sabres had is that they only sent two guys on the whole team to the Olympics. So Rasmus Dahlin and Tage Thompson for Sweden and the United States, respectively. The Montreal Canadiens sent four guys to the Olympics. Nick Suzuki for Team Canada, Juraj Slafkovsky for Slovakia, and those guys played big minutes, especially Slafkovsky. Suzuki got a bump in minutes once Crosby got hurt. Alex Tessier, who played for France, who was their best player, but they didn't go too far in the tournament. And then Kapanen, who only got to play in the last game because Mikko Rantanen got hurt. So in terms of, using up your capital or using up your energy for, going over to Italy, having that tournament, then coming back to the NHL, not such a big handicap on the Montreal Canadiens overall, not a big handicap on the Buffalo Sabres. So we see that, I think, paying spades at this time of year, that the guys didn't get overused
Hmm.
during the course of the year. And the
Hmm.
thing that I think is underrated for the Montreal Canadiens is that trip to the Stanley Cup Finals that they made in 2021, a team that really had no business being there. and really punched above their weight class. And Carey Price and Shea Weber gave so much that they never played again. There's 6 guys left from that squad on the Montreal Canadiens now with the return of Phil Deneau. So Suzuki, Caulfield, Deneau, Gallagher, Josh Anderson, and there's one more guy whose name is escaping me at the moment. You really see that experience in the group now in these playoffs that, okay, we've all been down this road before. We've won game sevens before. We know how to handle the high stakes. We know how to handle the matchups. We know how to handle the media. And that experience is invaluable. And you throw in Alex Newhook, who had a Stanley Cup with Colorado, and now you have 7 guys on the team that have been to the Stanley Cup finals, all contributing, all lending their experience to the group. And all that's just going to carry over and make Lane Hutson, Noah Dobson, Gooley, Matheson, Arbor Jacki, all these guys, this experience is going to grow them. Jakub Dobeš, is he the goalie of the future? Tough to say. A lot of talk about that in Montreal because we kind of had Fowler as the next one.
Yeah.
But maybe it's Dobeš's net to have and Dobeš's net to keep, and we can get him signed probably to a pretty respectable contract, and I'd be happy with him as the number 1 goalie going into next year.
Yeah, I think everyone would be. I mean, he's done a great job. There is no denying that. There were some close moments yesterday, and it again. I think the game went as well as it probably could have, especially them being on the road.
I
But
mean, I wouldn't have liked them to give up the 2-goal lead and
yeah,
have them kind of chip away at that. And that's they say the 2-goal lead is the worst lead in hockey because that's when you kind of pull off the throttle a bit and you defend a little bit more and you play in your own end and you're more comfortable with that situation. And what happens is, lower lines, not the stars, wind up getting goals in that situation because, okay, the puck is stuck in your end and you can't get it out. And it squirts out and someone gets a rebound goal, or there's a lot of traffic in front of the net and a point shot gets by, which is what happened for the first goal. And I thought, okay, well now it's 2-1. Let's try to tighten this up a little bit. Buffalo gets the tying goal, and I kind of was written in the stars that this would go to overtime because, again, 2 very, very evenly matched
yeah,
teams. And like I said in the Tampa series, if they played 10 games, it would be 5-5. And I
yeah,
kind of feel the same way for this Buffalo series. If they played 10 games, maybe it'd be 5-5. They got really lucky in game 4 with the puck taking that odd bounce off the Zamboni door and going behind Dobeš. Stuff like that happens. Montreal got tons of bounces against Tampa Bay. And now we live to fight another day because I do think overall we were, slightly better than them. And we'll show that, in the next series, hopefully that we're slightly better than Carolina. Again, a deep, well-constructed team. They've been on the doorstep of every year was their year for the last 5 years. And so
yeah.
is this the year that they make it to the Stanley Cup finals? I mean, personally, I hope not. But I wouldn't be shocked to see them beat the Montreal Canadiens. But the Canadiens have all the things going for them going into the
Yeah.
next series. Love to see a little bit more scoring out of the top line. But that's kind of playoff hockey. And if Sebastian Aho is out there against Nick Suzuki, Aho can defend as well as he can attack. And if he's prioritizing defense, we're going to have to rely on the guys, the secondary guys that have scored in this playoff. Josh Anderson has scored. Alex Newhook has scored. Bolduc scored. Ivan Demidov's starting to get going with his offense as well. He does lead all rookies in scoring in the playoff for whatever that's worth at this point. But to me, that's what's been the difference for the Montreal Canadiens is when the top guys are getting stopped and they're not getting goals on the power play. The depth scoring, Alex Tessier, these guys are coming through. Had some funny goals from the defensemen as well. Jacki got a goal.
Yeah.
I think Alex Carrier got a goal. So I'd like to see Noah Dobson and Mike Matheson, who are typically more offensive defensemen, start to get involved in the play, but it's not the regular season. It's not necessarily time to jump in on the rush, which would cause, a defensive mismatch. And that's how goals are scored. And that's how Alex Newhook got his goal last night was chance at one end, puck went back the other end. And that's playoff hockey, right?
Yeah, it's different. Playoff hockey is different. But this team is different. This team is different. The Montreal Canadiens are, I think, just built different. Like I said, they've got, that mentality. And maybe you're right. Maybe it's because they have a few players that have done this road before and they're used to it. And maybe in the locker room, they have some extra things to say based on actual experience. It's just crazy to even think that, that ultimate goal is essentially only 8 wins away. Carolina, though, did sweep the last 2 rounds. So, I mean, that's going to be interesting to see. And they do have home ice advantage. But like I said, I think Montreal played better on the road. They were not scared of being in someone else's house, and they cleaned up shop. They did it last night again. So I think, that the road, like we said, it's not going to get any easier from here on. I'm just happy that, they're here and they've made it this far. But I think the way this team has been playing, like you said, the depth, they're showing in every game. And just the heart that they have. Like these guys want it, they want it bad. I don't think anyone should have any reason to doubt them. Yeah, let's see.
So going into the Carolina series, we can talk about, forward matchups. We can talk about defensive matchups. We can talk about goaltending. You talked about home ice advantage. So what does that mean for Carolina? For Buffalo, home ice advantage. There's a lot of red sweaters in the crowd there. It's a 6-hour drive from Montreal.
Yeah.
Tickets aren't as expensive in Montreal, and people will make that trip. I wonder, obviously it's red, Carolina's red colors, so they're not going to stand out. The red jerseys in the crowd aren't going to stand out, but I wouldn't be surprised to see some Habs loyal faithful make their way down to Carolina. Obviously not a drive, because the tickets will probably be just as expensive at the Bell Center. The whole package will probably be very similar to going to the Bell Center.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't be surprised to see a lot of Habs fans in the building. The question for Carolina is, if they fill that rink with 18,000 folks, are those the only people in Carolina that care about this team? Because in Montreal, it's a religion, and they have 20,000 people in the Bell Center to watch TV. They have another 10,000 people outside to party in the street.
Yeah.
Will Carolina have that atmosphere that it could go either way, right? Because there's a lot of players that come to the Bell Center and they go, wow, this is the biggest, loudest rink in the league. I'm fired up to be here. I want to be on the ice. I want to play my best. We had this effect when I was younger, when there was a ton of Quebecois goaltenders in the NHL, that these guys always seem to bring their A game when they were playing in Montreal. I don't know if there's any Quebecois players. I have to look if there's any Quebecois players on Carolina. The obvious connection to the Habs is Kotkaniemi, who was a Habs player who was pretty instrumental in us making it to the Stanley Cup Finals. And Carolina signed an offer sheet, took him off our hands in a lot of ways. And he played about a year or two for them, and now he hasn't been able to get on the ice. So he's kind of become a non-NHLer in the last little bit. Didn't make the Olympic team either. So we'll see if he gets into the series, if he's a factor in any way, shape, or form. Otherwise, I'll be looking at the usual suspects for Carolina to really watch out for, which is Aho, Seth Jarvis, Nikolai Ehlers, and again, that super hot second line. But every series is different, and they've been on ice for a while.
No, for sure. Okay, so just so you know, there are actually a few players from Quebec on their current roster. They've got William Carrier. He was born in LaSalle, Quebec. They've got Nicolas Deslauriers.
Oh, Deslauriers. Well, he used to be at Hab, Nick Deslauriers. He's actually one of the toughest guys in the NHL, so don't mess with him. He's one of the best fighters that's left. There's not a lot of fighters that are left, but he might be the toughest guy in the NHL these days.
Yeah, he's a pure old school enforcer and a heavy physical presence on the fourth line. So, and then they've got Charles-Alexis Legault.
Don't know him, but okay.
Born in Montreal, actually. Young, big bodied, right shot defenseman prospect. So,
prospect. Okay, he's not, because I'm looking at the scoring list for them, and I'm seeing William Carrier for sure, who played 8 games and had no points on the left wing, so that's probably a fourth liner. Nick Deslauriers only played 1 game so far in the playoffs, and Montreal's not that heavyweight team, so you don't really need your fighter in the line.
That's what I was just gonna say.
And it really depends on what kind of series you want to have. Because with Tampa Bay, there was not 1 inch of space out there. Against Buffalo, they were a more wide open type of team. Zach Benson, who's not a big, strong, shouldn't say not strong, but he's not a big guy per se for a hockey player standard. And he was, their grit engine for that team. So we'll see who, has these roles with Carolina, what the matchups look like, if Aho's out there for offense, if he's out there for defense. If the first line comes to play, if they're going to rely on the second line, it's something that I think people forget about in the playoffs, is that matchups are really important, and sometimes top players are shut down. So for Carolina, they have probably the best pure defensive defenseman in the NHL, which is Jacob Slavin. And, if he's out there against Cole Caulfield and Nick Suzuki, which I predict he will be, that's a tough matchup for anybody. And again, he's, probably the best defensive defenseman in the league. I was having an argument with my friend the other day, maybe he's top 10 defenseman in the world, but he doesn't have the power play, he doesn't have the big shots, so he's not playing in all situations. But as far as a defenseman goes, the classic definition of a defenseman, and watching Rasmus Dahlin crash the net a few times, I kept thinking to myself, Slavin is not going to do that. It's not going to be the same thing against Carolina. So we'll see what they do. Boston, not a tough team, basically last seed in the Eastern Conference. And Philadelphia, they had a very easy series against Pittsburgh,
Yeah.
and then once they played a real team, they got smoked. So maybe
Yeah.
Carolina hasn't seen that level. Excuse me, they played Ottawa in the first round. They haven't seen that level of pressure yet, and we'll see how it goes against a real battle-tested Montreal Canadiens team.
And we'll see soon because not much rest because the first game is going to be this Thursday. So this Thursday night at 8 o'clock p.m. And then game two will follow on Saturday night. And then the series will shift back to the Centre Bell on Monday, May the 25th. So are you going to go down for any of these games? Come on. I mean, it's the next round now.
Yeah, as soon as I win the Lotto Max, Ange.
Yeah. No, but even just to like hang out outside, I guess you avoided.
Hang out outside. I can hang out outside my own house. Look, I'd love to. My situation's a little different right now. I have a lot of responsibility at home, so I'm lucky
Yeah.
if I get to watch the game from start to finish. We'll see
Yeah.
if I make it through some of these 8 o'clock starts for sure. If they go to overtime, I'll have to catch the highlights the next day. So last night, game ended at 11, so I'm like, perfect. 11 o'clock, I can go to bed, but I was so fired up. I
Yeah.
was so, the adrenaline was going. I just kept thinking to myself, oh man, Newhook, what a great goal there. So
Yeah.
um, there's another big event which I want to talk to you about in a moment in Montreal that's going to go down this weekend, which is Formula One, which is like kind of the marquee sporting event for Montreal. But before we talk about that, I think we should shift gears and talk for 2 minutes about the Western Conference Final, which is going to be Colorado against Las Vegas.
Yes.
And Mitch Marner for Las Vegas is leading the playoffs in scoring. So,
I
as the
know.
Toronto sports expert here, I just want to know, I'd like to hear your opinion, and I'd like to hear kind of what the talk of the town is.
Yeah.
Mitch Marner is a local Toronto product, born and raised, obviously played for the Maple Leafs for a long time,
Yeah.
was very successful.
Yeah.
His first year now in Las Vegas, they're in the conference final, something Toronto hasn't done since I think 2002.
Yeah.
Are you, first of all, personally, are you happy for Mitch Marner to have this success? Are you proud of him? Does it make you feel good to know that, this kid from Toronto is making it big and leading his team? Are
Yeah.
you upset that he left town and, it just didn't work out between him and the Toronto Maple Leafs? And what are people around you saying?
Yeah. It's 50-50. I would say there are some people that hate him. Some people are saying like, how can he play such good hockey out there? He scored more goals than he in the playoffs alone than he did the entire time he played on Toronto. But I mean, you know what? I'm happy for him. He's a young guy. He's probably living it up in Vegas, especially now with his success. So, you know what? I'm happy for him. I'm happy for any athletes that always go and do better. Kawhi Leonard, different story. But this guy specifically, Mitch, I mean, from here, from Toronto, I'd love to see him play here. I would have loved to see him stay, but there's so much controversy because there's a lot of spotlight on Canadian, specifically Toronto teams, right? So the media gets to it's a whole thing. And maybe, I mean, obviously for his game, he's obviously better off there. So I'm happy for him. I'm proud of him. I think that series is going to be a really, really good one for sure.
Well, it's going to be a lot of fun. Obviously, for me, with no real horse in the game, I loved watching Colorado play Minnesota. I loved it because it's like,
Yeah.
okay, these are two great teams,
Yeah.
debatably the best and second best defensemen in the world going head to head. Are real two game breakers. You have Nathan McKinnon and Natchez on the Colorado side. You have Kaprizov and Matt Boley on the Minnesota side. So you're like, there was all sorts of star power and all sorts of firepower out there. And it was a lot of fun to watch with no horse in the game for me.
Yeah.
When it's not the Habs, I'll maybe make a prediction here. I think conventional wisdom says Colorado is going to win the series. Will they do it in five? Will they do it in six? Will they do it in seven? Vegas and the Pacific Division was not particularly strong this year.
Okay, I'm
And
gonna play devil's advocate. I'm glad you went that way because I'm gonna say Vegas on this one.
okay, so look,
Devil's
Vegas made a
advocate.
big coaching change with like a couple weeks left in the season to bring in John Tortorella to see if that could kick the team into gear because it seemed like nobody in the Pacific Division wanted to make the playoffs.
Yeah.
So it was arguably the easiest road into the playoffs, arguably the easiest road to the conference final in the playoffs. Now they'll have to go play against Colorado, which it looked like they were going to lose. I can't remember if it was game 5 or game 6 against Minnesota. They were down 3-0 or 3-1, and then all of a sudden they ripped back into that game. So,
It's playoff
now
hockey. It's different.
it's different, and they have two decent goaltenders in Colorado. Arguably the best defenseman in the world. Depending on who you ask, some people say Nathan McKinnon is the best player in the world. Some people say Connor McDavid's the best player in the world. Every now and then you get a wild card in there if someone wants to make an
Yeah.
argument for like a Leon Draisaitl or a Nikita Kucherov, and it's all valid. But
Yeah.
arguably best defenseman, best centerman, best forward there. Natchez has been a great running mate for him. Everything's looked great. They brought back Nazem Kadri. Brock Nelson's had an amazing year for them. So, they have all the depth and all the pieces. We'll see if Colorado can get over the Vegas hump. It would be very cool to see a Colorado Montreal Stanley Cup final, but I don't want to get ahead of myself because obviously there's the Nordique fan base that's still around. They even wore their Nordique jerseys a couple of times this year. I would not want to see them wear those jerseys in the playoffs against the Montreal Canadiens because I just don't want to have any misallegiances. And I don't know
Yeah.
if you've been seeing the clips of in Quebec City where they have a new rink called the Videotron Center. They've been getting like 10,000, 15,000 people there to watch the Canadiens already.
And a church. I saw there's a church too.
Well, I keep telling you it's the religion around here.
Yeah, yeah, it literally is. I get it. I get it.